Today, we will be debunking this lying apologist who calls himself the based Bengali. Let's see what lies this brother spreads about Islam.
It blows my mind when you guys want to pick and choose when to follow your church fathers.
First, this brother claims that I and other Christians who condemn Muhammad's marriage are cherry-picking our church fathers. But what's funny is, we are about to expose him for picking and choosing when to follow his salaf imams.
The Catholic Church never really established an age for marriage until way later. Constantius, he was a canonist from the 13th century, and here's what he said. Once a girl was physically ready to consummate a sexual relationship, she was ready for marriage, and the same was true for boys. However, since puberty came earlier for females than males, they could marry at a younger age. I'm pretty sure Muslims say the same thing.
This disingenuous apologist claims to be a Salafi while also saying that Muslims teach the age of marriage to be puberty. That is not the case at all. His Salafi version of Islam is very clear that marriage and consummation can happen before puberty. But this brother, in hopes of appealing to a wider audience, hides what his religion actually teaches. Since he's ashamed of his religion, he has to lie about it. But I'm here to tell you, and all four madhabs all allow marriage before puberty, as well as most of the scholars in those madhabs allowing consummation before puberty. First, let's go to the Quran. Then the scholar interpretation of the Quran as Muhammad taught, that the scholars are the successors of the prophets. Therefore, we should look at their words to interpret the Quran. Surah 65 verse 4 says, the waiting period after a marriage is consummated, then divorced is 3 months for those who don't menstruate. We can look at Sahih narrations on this verse that give the reason for why it was revealed, and in both the Sahih narrations graded and authenticated by Salafi scholars say it's about those too young such that they haven't started menstruating. So the Quran, according to Muhammad himself, teaches you can marry, consummate, and divorce a girl while she is still too young to menstruate. But that's not all. Scholars like Imam Bukhari, the most famous hadith scholar, says this verse is about the waiting period before puberty for girls who are still immature, and uses it as proof that marriage and consummation before puberty is halal. So who should we trust here, guys? Two authentic hadith narration that goes back to Muhammad, al-Bukhari, and many other tafsir scholars? Or this not-so-based Bengali guy?
It wasn't until Gratian or Gratian came along in the 15th century, he added a standard for marriage, which was already there in Islamic societies.
So this brother then claims that Islamic societies already had a standard for consensual marriage, which again is another lie, especially if he is a Salafi, like he claims.
He argued that marriage was both a spiritual union founded on mutual consent and a physical union based on sexual intercourse. He saw marriage occurring in 2 stages. First was mutual consent. A couple's union was consummated through sexual intercourse. In Islam, we don't have that standard, and marriage is still valid if sexual intercourse is not taking place. In Islam, consummation of marriage occurs when couples spend some time after their marriage in seclusion and/or privacy. You don't need intercourse to consummate a marriage in Islam.
Notice how this brother didn't show any actual fatwa or books of fiqh? He went to some silly website to get his Sharia. Let's look at Ibn Qayyim, the student of Sheikh Taymiyyah, and see what he reports about the different views of consent in the Islamic Salafi schools. Qayyim reports the Shafi and Maliki position, saying they believe you can compel a marriage due to virginity. He then reports the Hanafi position, saying that school teaches you can compel due to prepubescences. Strange, I thought this brother said Muslims taught you can only marry after puberty. Maybe some did, but those Muslims that aren't pedos like your Salafi guys are, consider you and other Salafis extremist heretics. Moving in, the Qayyim then reports 2 other opinions that are basically the same, that you can compel a marriage if prepubescences and/or virginity is found. Then the last opinion is an opinion that contradicts the consensus, so it's irrelevant. So no, in his cultist Salafi version of Islam, there isn't a standard that akin to what he cherry-picked from church history. Everything he presented from church history condemn his prophet and his Salafi cult. So stop picking and choosing when to be a Salafi. I know non-Salafi branches of Islam might seem more appealing due to them not being backward 7th century desert cults, but brother, you committed to this Salafi thing. So stick to Salafi Sharia. Christians and anyone else have all rights to condemn and call out the horrors that go on in the Salafi Sharia, and you can cry on TikTok all you want, call us bigots, call us Islamophobes, but if people you gain wisdom from are Ibn Qayyim, Taymiyyah, the founding imams, then you're going to get called out for your cult behavior.